Dr. Parita Nityapan, President of TESOL, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor and privilege for me to be invited to give this talk, which will cover 3 areas. Problems with Thailand's education and Thailand's national competitiveness. Secondly, Independent Commission for Education Reform and English language education within the reform scene. For centuries, Thais have given emphasis on education based in the Buddhist temple. It's covered not only religious matters, but also language, literature, occupations, arts, and physical training. About 100 years ago, King Chulalongkorn Rama V established the school system in Thailand throughout the kingdom, including higher education. It was an aspect of modernization needed for preserving the country's independence from colonialization. Thai language includes both spoken and written part. For over 700 years, our alphabet started more than 700 years ago, and we are proud of our heritage. Our education has therefore been based on the Thai language. Our schools are taught in Thai. King Rama IV, the father of King Rama V, and His Majesty King Rama VI himself, did recognize the need for English, for trade and diplomacy. They both learned English and could use the language fairly well. When I was a student, I can recall back 60 years ago, English teaching started when I reached the grade 5, not before. Thailand has been through periods of political nationalism, such as during the Second World War and after. Emphasis was used on using Thai language in all levels of education. Recognition of the necessity of English language started many decades ago from seeing English as the language of sciences. Then globalization and ASEAN regionalization enhanced the importance of English language. Thus, English has been in the curriculum from grade 1 for more than 30 years. Unfortunately, it has been mainly grammatical English with limited ability to use in life and works. Education in Thailand in general has been through several cycles of reform in the past 100 years since the beginning of the school system, and has served the country well. We have recognized the need for another major reform, hence another efforts on education reform now. The quality of education is now, I can say, unsatisfactory. To give you some evidence, audit examination undertaken by the National Academic Testing Institute for 8th grade students in 2016 was taken by 378,000 students. Even though education in Thailand has progressed, we are not satisfied with the situation at this moment. The average score for result in mathematics was 24.88%. For science, 31%. For social science, only 35%. Thai language, 52%. And you might note for English language, less than 28%. Besides, there were some youngsters who had quitted school and did not reach even this level. For PISA 2000 to PISA 2015, results of examination in science, mathematics, and reading on 15 years old students in Thailand, the mean score for the whole country were around 420, while the international average was about 500. The score did not improve over 15 years. It has been confirmed that the outcomes of our basic education are not satisfactory. Now, considering the education inequity, detailed analysis of PISA 2015 result by school administrations show serious inequity of scores, even though some of our schools, namely the science schools, university demonstration school, which attached to universities, were above international average and can match other countries. We see these students won medals in academic Olympic competition. Being vice chairman of the Foundation for Olympic Academics, we are very proud of all these students. It shows that given opportunity, Thai students can also reach excellence. However, the majority of Thai were below standards. Public urban school did better than private schools, and of course, rural school. The lowest were those under the local administration. Considering Thailand's national competitiveness, Thailand ranked 27 among 55 economies, behind Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, and Malaysia. I gave you this picture in order to wake all the Thais up. Global competitiveness ranking by World Economic Forum show Thailand behind Singapore and Malaysia. Knowledge Economy Index by the World Bank report also show Thailand overtaken by Malaysia, considering considerable advantage that Thailand have regarding natural resources of fertile land and abundant water supply. Its strategic location in the middle of Southeast Asia, more than 700 history of independence, abundant cultural heritage, and strong national institutions, we cannot help but wonder why we are not performing better. University performance based upon international publication of research reports. Top Thai university, Chulalongkorn and Mahidol, has not improved in the past 8 years. Fell very much behind University of Tokyo, Beijing University, and National University of Singapore. Over the 8 years, the figures show stagnation of our situation, not being able to progress. This graph shows numbers of cited publications from 1996 to 2011. Malaysia has overtaken Thailand since 2008. It is interesting to note that while Malaysia separated higher education from the Ministry of Education, that was around the year of 1999, Thailand merged higher education into the Ministry of Education, more or less on the same year. Malaysia had since increased its budget allocation to higher education. Undoubtedly, we need reform of our higher education. We are trying to separate the higher education ministry from the Ministry of Education because of the need for research and excellence at the top of the education system. Global competitiveness reports of the World Economic Forum outline the 3 roles of university in building national competitiveness, namely, firstly, quality higher education and training to provide pools of well-educated workers. Secondly, technological readiness to expand the frontier of knowledge. And thirdly, innovation leading to cutting-edge products and processes. Thus, transformation of university seems essential for the development of national competitiveness. And now Thailand has announced the ambition for Thailand 4.0. In summary, Thailand's education is suffering from low quality, inequity, inefficiency, and poor national competitiveness. Education budget for many years has been about 20% of total national budget, highest among the ministries. We are putting a lot of resources into education. Efficiency of the education system is subjected to scrutiny at the moment. Geographical, economic, social, and cultural diversity lead to complexity of the system and require multiplicity of approaches. The magnitude of the target population gives another dimension of the problem. It includes 11 million of people in the formal education sector. Within this, 1.5 million were from poor family, 2 million from disadvantaged, and 0.3 million disabled, both physically and brain lesion. Care for the early childhood children, about 700,000 new births in a year, also include education, while at present 1.1 million of children of the age are missing in kindergarten admission. Occupation and higher education serve the other end of the spectrum. All of these need reform. Non-formal education involves 47 million population. At present, Commission for Non-Formal and Informal Education is serving from 3 to 22 million, depending on the level of activities. It must help 1.1 million of dropouts. Lifelong education for all age groups must address occupational and workforce development, as well as education for the age which Thailand is now entering. Crisis of Thailand's education is recognized. Thailand's new constitution of 2017, that is last year, we just entering 2018. The constitution stated that in the initial statement, the country is facing many problems, and to address them, education reform is needed, as well as law enforcement and ethical and moral strengthening. A commission is to be established to study, recommend, and draft necessary legislation within 2 years. Reform of education should include early childhood care, establishment of an equity fund, reform of learning and teaching, teachers' development, educational structures and systems. The seriousness and magnitude of problems appear as a mission impossible. We are looking for light at the end of the tunnel. The Independent Commission for Education Reform was established on the 30th of May 2017. Now it has been diligently working for about 7 months with many subcommittees and working groups. It has completed the drafting of the Fund for Equity in Education Act 2018, submitted to the government for annexation. We recommend the government to establish a fund of at least 25 billion bahts a year to address the education inequity. A number of legislation are being drafted. National Higher Education Act for the new higher education system. National Early Childhood Act to help students and to help children before birth until the age of 8, and School Autonomy Act to put the real action to the teachers and students. We are planning to draft a new National Education Act to address various aspects of education reform. Changes in education process are being scrutinized to contribute to the reform. We are looking for changes as well as innovations. Now let me come to the case in point, English language education. When I was asked to accept the chairmanship of the Independent Commission for Education Reform in June last year. One of the biggest questions was how to get all students, and perhaps all Thai, to be competent in English language, enough for the country's security, prosperity, and sustainability. Thailand has 67 million population, 11 million students in the 33,000 schools for basic levels of education, that is 12 years of compulsory education, and also about 40 million more in non-formal education. How to get enough English language teacher for the 30,000 schools? Even one for each school would be difficult. When I visited the Angkang village in Chiang Mai here, on top of the hill near the border of Burma or Myanmar border, students asked for classes for English language. This is the grade 5, 6 student. They would earn more from tourists visiting the valley, the villages. Thus, English is not just basic knowledge, but it contributes to income that is part of the occupation for younger people. To look back, when I was president of the Chulalongkorn University in 1989, it was obvious that our students of the university must have good level of English competency. The university has a language institute established a number of years ago, before then, with about 100 teachers in English language. The question was how to get the limited number of teachers, making our over 30,000 students competent in English language enough at the desired level. I was delighted at that time to receive the answer from the Language Institute that English language could not be taught. Students must diligently practice by themselves. What we needed were tools for assessment of each student's level of competency, to advise students on their options. Self-learning English language centers with different equipment to suit students' needs and preference. Thus, self-learning centers were established, firstly at the University's Language Institute, and later at various faculties. Students met with English language teachers at intervals for advice. The next question is how to motivate students to try their full efforts while they have to work very hard on their professional studies. Chulalongkorn University Language Institute then developed the Chulalongkorn University Test for English Program, or CU-TEP. What would we do with the test result? Would we flunk the student who failed to pass the English exam, even when they did well with their professional studies? It was decided that separate certificates were issued regarding English language competency. Perhaps this certificate is more important than the diploma. Now, coming back to the present education reform efforts. Besides formal education reform, including learning and teaching reform, teachers and human resource reform, and management reform, and non-formal education reform, of course, we are exploring reform through competency-based curriculum and through digital revolution, in addition to society and community engagement to mobilize help to the public and private providers. For digital-based education, it is hopeful to develop digital material and tools for self-learning or group learning or teacher and student learning together, and also, of course, for teachers' development. On air, online, and on-ground delivery are possible by the ongoing infrastructure development in the country. Fiber optic lines are installing to reach all villages and all schools in the country. Digital-based tests are to serve as checkpoint or milestones and used as rewards to motivate resilient students and teachers. Grade 3, 6, 9, and 12 are identified. Initially, we will try for the grade 3 and of course expanding later to other levels. Logistics, including digital learning platform, connectivity, reliability, and system structure are being planned. Competency-based material are envisaged to cover Thai language competency, English language competency, and other language competency. Now we begin with Chinese language. Language programs are spearheading the whole reform initiative. Others are being planned, including numeracy, science competency, digital competency, communication competency, financial competencies, social and cultural competency, occupational competency, and life competency. Ethical and moral constitution are also in the scheme. Competency-based tests for corresponding competencies must also be developed. There appear to be some light at the end of the tunnel. Realization of the vision can be anticipated. The country has completed the works on framework of reference of English language education in Thailand based on CEFR, which has newly been approved for use. There are tools for self-learning, for example, Chulalongkorn University Language Institute, Small World, Sinarin Birod University project of Play and Learn, Mahidol University's Ing Ao, Tell Me More, and many others. I saw some in the exhibit outside. English language teacher in Thailand from Language Institute of Chulalongkorn University, Mahidol, Thammasat, and many others are now joining hands. Many of them are in this conference. I'm very grateful to all of you for trying to develop this, which is the hope for the development of English language for so many people, so many who live in the disadvantaged area. It has been decided to aim initially at grade 3 level of Thai's basic education or the A1 level of international standard. Material for learning of English language is being developed. Hopefully, our friend from abroad, which has developed all these tools, both for learning and teaching, can help in our deliberation. Participation by all, especially English language teachers here in Thailand and abroad, are invited. Hopefully we can turn the situation to a mission possible with all your help. Thank you very much.